NBCNightly.com, working for you.
Final hours. A fight to the finish over a controversial execution. Convicted killer Gary Graham set to die tonight in Texas. Unwelcome news for Vice President Gore tonight. A top Justice Department official reportedly recommends an investigation on campaign fundraising abuses. Fatal flight. JFK Jr.'s plane plunges into the sea. 1 year later, NBC News learns why investigators are choosing their words so carefully in the final crash report. In depth tonight, what women really want in a presidential candidate, what they think about work and family, and the First Lady. Surprising new poll results.
From NBC News, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Reporting tonight from Los Angeles.
Good evening. In Texas tonight, the clock is now ticking for condemned prisoner Gary Graham, the man whose scheduled execution has become a focus of growing debates on capital punishment in this country and the role of Texas Governor George W. Bush. Bush is back in the state tonight off the presidential campaign trail, and Graham's case appears to be headed for the U.S. Supreme Court after he was turned down today by the Texas State Board of Pardons. We begin tonight with NBC's Jim Cummins, who's in Texas.
Gary Graham promises to fight like hell against his execution, and he does from the beginning when prison guards move him from death row 45 miles to Huntsville and the death chamber.
And as soon as we unshackled his hands to move them from the back to the front, that's when he started the struggle.
It takes 5 guards to subdue Graham, who refuses to eat as the time for his execution approaches. He arrives at the legendary Walls unit in Huntsville, where a friend is told she cannot see him as planned.
He didn't cooperate because he's innocent, and why are you going to take away his privileges, these few precious hours of privileges, when you're still trying to execute him?
Demonstrators show up.
We love him. We love him, and we here for him.
Security around the prison is tight.
You want to go around, you can go around one more block over.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson arrives and is allowed to visit Graham.
He was amazingly upbeat. There were no tears shed. He had a sense of inner peace.
The facts are, Graham, a 7th grade dropout facing his 8th execution date in 19 years, was convicted of murder after Bernadine Skillern testified she saw him gun down a man during a robbery attempt in 1981. Graham's new lawyers say there are at least 2 other witnesses who insist Graham was not the shooter. They asked the Board of Pardons and Paroles to recommend to Governor Bush a 120-day reprieve, a conditional pardon, or commute Graham's sentence. This afternoon, the board rejects all 3, refusing to stop the execution.
A majority of the board has decided not to recommend a 120-day reprieve, commutation of the death sentence to a lesser penalty, or a conditional pardon.
It's mid-afternoon, and Graham's stepmother refuses to give up hope.
Blood still running through his veins, and I'm not giving up until they say Gary Graham is dead.
Under Texas law, Governor Bush, who has been hounded by death penalty protesters on the presidential campaign trail, is powerless to stop this execution now that the parole board has refused to recommend a delay. The crowd of protesters outside the prison grows bigger and louder.
But George Bush wants to murder an innocent man today.
It's late afternoon, and only his spiritual advisor and lawyers can see Graham now. They plan a last-ditch appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court.
We as a state, because of human error, human frailty, and no will to acknowledge our own frailty, are about to put to death a man who is innocent.
Final preparations for Gary Graham's execution have begun inside the prison behind me, as authorities here wait for the final word from the U.S. Supreme Court. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's Jim Cummins tonight. Governor Bush is getting a lot of political heat in this case, but in fact, as Jim reported, in Texas, the real power in capital cases is with the State Board of Pardons. NBC's Pete Williams tonight on the lines of authority in the Lone Star State.
In Texas, it's the law. No governor can act to stop an execution in a case like this unless there's first a recommendation from the state's pardon board. And because of that, Governor George W. Bush has said the fate of Gary Graham was entirely out of his hands and up to the 18-member board, its current members all appointed by him. In death penalty cases, an inmate can petition the board to delay an execution for several months, reduce a sentence to life in prison, or even grant a full pardon. But a governor cannot do any of that without the board's recommendation. There's only one exception. A governor can delay an execution for 30 days, but just once in any single case. And since the previous Texas governor, Ann Richards, already granted Gary Graham that 30-day delay, that was not an option for Governor Bush. But since he appointed the board, could he have influenced it if he wanted to? A Bush supporter and member of the Texas legislature says no, that would be improper.
If the board were appointed and then allowed themselves to be swayed, then they would be going against what we're trying to do with this autonomous board.
But a former Texas attorney general says it's easy for the governor's office, if it wants, to let the board know the boss's view on how a case should come out.
I think it's a whole lot easier just simply to talk to one of your assistants and have them talk to the chairman of the board and tell them exactly what you want done so that there'll be no miscommunications.
Texas is one of the few states that so limits a governor's options. Nearly everywhere else, inmates can ask a governor directly for mercy. That was once true in Texas, too, but the state set up the parole board in the 1920s when it discovered that Governor Ma Ferguson was taking bribes in return for clemency. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
The other presidential candidate, Vice President Al Gore, is also in the news tonight, and it's not good news for him. After many months of speculation, controversy, and confusion, it appears that another senior Justice Department official has concluded Al Gore should be investigated by a special prosecutor for alleged campaign fundraising abuses. NBC's Claire Shipman is at the White House tonight with the latest. Claire?
Tom, it's true that a top Justice Department prosecutor is recommending that Janet Reno bring in a special counsel to look into Al Gore's 1996 campaign fundraising. Now, Reno has turned down two similar recommendations in the past. It's not clear what she's going to do this time.
Senator Arlen Specter, who's been holding hearings into campaign fundraising abuses, breaks the news on Capitol Hill today.
I have reason to believe that Mr. Conrad has recommended special counsel to investigate Vice President Gore.
Al Gore, traveling in Minnesota, caught off guard.
You're privy to news that I don't have. Oh, is that right? Well, I don't know. I don't know about that, so I'll have to inform myself.
Officials close to the Justice Department say prosecutors are focused on Gore's 1996 visit to a Buddhist temple, which raised $140,000, and his fundraising calls from the White House. Officials say there is no substantial new evidence about either event, but they just don't believe Gore has told the truth about what he knew about the fundraiser or the phone calls. Many think Janet Reno will now be under real pressure to act.
At this point, it doesn't leave her much choice. I mean, she's going to do what she wants to do. She's going to do what she thinks is right. But it looks like, it sounds like, it smells like this is the time that finally an independent review of this will be had.
Charles LaBella, previous head of the Justice Department task force, sent a memo to Reno in July of 1998 asking for an outside prosecutor. And before that, FBI Director Louis Freeh made the same recommendation in November of 1997. The new head of the Justice Department task force, Robert Conrad, interviewed Gore and President Clinton just this April, and sources say Conrad was not pleased with Gore's answers.
Now, Janet Reno, remember, may decide again not to follow this advice, and she can't appoint an independent counsel. That law expired last year. If she does bring somebody in, it would be a special counsel working within the Justice Department and reporting to Janet Reno. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's Claire Shipman at the White House tonight. Then there's also this tonight from independent counsel Robert Ray, who says there is substantial evidence that First Lady Hillary Clinton played a role in the firings at the White House Travel Office back in 1993. However, he says he could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that any of Mrs. Clinton's statements and testimony about Travelgate were knowingly false. So Ray says he will not prosecute the First Lady, now running for the U.S. Senate from New York. Still ahead tonight, what American women want. NBC News in depth. The latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll and how women feel about their families, their jobs, and doing it all.
I was stunned at the large percentage of women who said they worked mostly to earn money, either as the primary wage earner or to contribute to their family to make ends meet or to have money to do the things they wanted to.
The Feminine View, the latest polling tonight in depth. And the fatal flight of John F. Kennedy Jr., an exclusive look at what's expected in the final report on what brought down his plane.
Wish you could try things before you buy them? Well, come into a Gateway Country store and you can try all the computers before you buy one, with prices starting as low as $799. Call 1-800-GATEWAY.
Do something fun today. Kick back. Eat with your fingers at Red Lobster. Luscious peel and eat shrimp. All you can eat for only $11.99. But hurry, because this mouth-watering offer ends soon.
Who's asking about Viagra? Someone you might expect, and also someone that maybe you wouldn't. In fact, you may be surprised at who's talking to their doctors about Viagra. So ask your doctor if a free trial of Viagra is right for you. Who's asking about Viagra? Maybe it should be you.
Uniroyal tires with nail guard seal most tread punctures instantly, permanently, and repeatedly. Nail guard tires, only from Uniroyal.
Total. Now with 100% calcium. Total is the only food that has 100% of the daily value of calcium in a single serving. Even before you add the milk. Total, now with 100% calcium.
Tomorrow, Lifeline. She's 49 and has osteoporosis. Half of all women over 50 suffer fractures. Now a breakthrough treatment. NBC Nightly News tomorrow.
A 15-month Dateline investigation. What some insurance companies don't want you to know.
No medical training at all?
None.
A Dateline investigation, Friday.
It's been almost a year since John Kennedy Jr., his wife, and her sister were killed when his small plane crashed off Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. Now NBC's Robert Hager has learned what's in the National Transportation Safety Board's final report on Kennedy's fatal flight, and it is couched in careful language.
Nearly 1 year after the tragic accident, investigators conclude it was caused by pilot error and pilot error alone, and are readying the wording of a final report for release in the next several weeks. But rather than the harsh term pilot error, the formal finding of a probable cause by the NTSB is more apt to say Kennedy became spatially disoriented, a condition in which a pilot loses track of a plane's position in the sky and how its wings are tipped or whether it's losing altitude until it's too late and the plane is falling out of control. Former investigator Thomas Farrier.
The FAA considers spatial disorientation to be probably the most common cause of accidents among general aviation pilots, and you see it in other types of pilots as well.
The long months of investigation have turned up no sign of any mechanical flaw in the airplane, and no fault in weather reporting, even though that didn't warn of the thick haze that existed at lower altitudes that day, all the way from New Jersey, where Kennedy took off, to the island of Martha's Vineyard, where he intended to land. The haze, the darkness of night, and the fact that Kennedy was over a long stretch of open water with no lights below for orientation may have all been factors in losing his way. Radar shows the plane had just begun a right turn to line up for approach, but never came out of that turn, instead plunging into the sea. The words of the report will be carefully chosen out of respect for the Kennedy family and its place in American history. And also, investigators say, because they're aware there was once talk of a lawsuit against the Kennedy estate by the family of his wife and sister-in-law, the Bassetts. Investigators are likely to say the haze was so thick that other pilots in the air that night were talking about it on the radio, though Kennedy may not have heard those conversations. But the report will not fault Kennedy's experience. Although he was licensed to fly only in visual conditions or good weather, he had significant training toward obtaining an instrument rating to fly in poorer conditions. But the report's apt to find he failed to rely on those instruments.
The FAA did a study in the early 1990s that indicated the average pilot will lose control of an aircraft within 3 minutes if they are not flying on instruments and they can no longer see the ground.
So far, it appears the NTSB will sidestep the controversial question of whether pilots without instrument rating should be permitted to ever fly at night. But investigators may recommend more training for all to avoid the specific problem of spatial disorientation, a quick and insidious killer, which the report will say caused this accident and ended 3 lives within seconds. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
NASA today released new high-resolution photographs of the surface of the planet Mars and said they add to a growing body of evidence that there may be water and perhaps life on the red planet. NASA animation based on the photos taken by the Mars Global Surveyor spacecraft shows trench-like formations that could have been made by fast-flowing water on the surface. NASA's chief scientist says where there's water, there's bound to be much more.
If these results prove true, that there is water on Mars near the surface, it has profound implications for the possibilities of life on Mars.
Today's announcement is a big relief for NASA after losing 2 Mars spacecraft last year. A new robot mission to explore the surface and perhaps finally answer the water question and maybe even the life question is now planned for the year 2003. Stocks came down to earth today on Wall Street. Investors took profits on recent gains. As a result, the Dow finished down almost 122 points. NASDAQ was down more than 127 points. Still ahead tonight, the family. The staggering amounts of money that some couples are spending on weddings. Paying for this party is no piece of cake.
We noticed tons of surfers just eating fish tacos on the docks.
So we created just a menu based on food that we like.
Kind of like surf food as opposed to Mexican food.
Now that we're growing, the need for the financial partner was real important. Finding somebody who could help us to fulfill our dreams down the road. That's where Merrill Lynch has stepped up.
They were willing to take a chance with us. They saw past the shorts and t-shirts. Oh, we're still keeping to the core. We're still surfing. We're in the groove.
Natural, real, the new man's way to lose the gray. Quick, just like that. It's like my natural color's back.
What's going on? Hey! Wow, this is nice. But I thought Stacy said if you bought new tools, she gets a new dining room set.
Yeah, she did.
So where are the table and chairs?
You're standing on them.
Fine woodworking tools from Rigid. Name proven by pros since 1923. Take our 12-inch compound miter saw, the best choice for deck building, remodeling, and finish work. Rigid. Buy them at the Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning.
Dream, 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 dream.
Suddenly, millions of people are dreaming about dairy foods. They just can't seem to get them off their minds. The reason? Lactate Ultra. Lactate is the simple, natural way to make dairy easy to digest. Just take it with your first bite. That's all it takes to make your dreams come true. Lactate Ultra, for the love of dairy.
The forces of nature are waging a war, and the target is your deck. But Thompson's will stop them, because when others fail, Thompson succeeds, protecting your deck like no other, guaranteed. Thompson's Wood Protector. It never takes a day off.
Introducing the all-new Chevy Tahoe. Now offering a third row of seats that's light and easier to handle than anything else out there. It's nowhere near anything. The new Chevy Tahoe. Like a rock.
Who will tie the knot on today? You've met our 4 happy couples, so your favorite twosome needs your online vote by tomorrow. Who will tie the knot on today?
The National Dateline Driving Test coming this Tuesday.
NBC News in depth tonight. How American women feel about their lives, their jobs, and Hillary Clinton. We found some surprising answers in the latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. It all comes in an election year when women will play a pivotal role in who becomes president. 4 years ago, more than 100 million women were registered to vote. More than 55% of them cast a ballot. Now, look at the feminine view and some startling opinions on the First Lady. NBC's Lisa Myers tonight reporting in depth.
She redefined the role of First Lady, became an enormously sympathetic figure during impeachment, and today, according to an NBC News poll, deeply divides the country. Unlike other first ladies, Hillary Clinton doesn't even top the list of most admired women in politics in the poll. Elizabeth Dole does. 24% of Americans choose her, 19% Hillary, with Secretary of State Madeleine Albright third.
In 50 years of polling, we haven't seen another instance where the First Lady wasn't the choice when Americans were asked, who's the one woman you admire most in American politics today?
In fact, over the last 8 years, views of Mrs. Clinton as a role model have changed dramatically. In 1992, 66% of Americans thought her a positive role model, 21% thought she was not. Now the lines have crossed. Only 44% see her in a positive light, 50% do not.
She, unfortunately, I think, put herself into a bad situation by saying, I would stand by his side, I would support him. And
those hardest on Mrs. Clinton, her peers, college-educated women over 50. Why?
A feeling of resentment for the fact that they had to climb the ladder step by step to get where they are. And there's a sense that Hillary has catapulted over the top of everyone else in New York to run for office, in part on the basis of her marriage and her celebrity, as opposed to simply her accomplishments.
But younger women, such as Pamela Derrigan, a lawyer, tend to be pro-Hillary, even think she has what it takes to be president.
She has been successful in her career. She's followed it through. She's highly educated. She's very determined, and that's very admirable.
Despite the polarization over Mrs. Clinton, the overwhelming majority of women are glad that she and they have the choice to pursue careers. 3 out of 4 believe the women's movement had a positive impact, even though most don't call themselves feminists. But when asked why they work, women gave some surprising answers. 37% are the primary wage earner in the family. 47% because their family needs the money for necessities or to afford better things. Only 14% work for personal satisfaction. And if given the choice of being home with their kids or working, most working moms agree with Jean Larson, who works in an art gallery.
I didn't get a great satisfaction out of it. I would have preferred to be at home.
It makes it clear that this whole question of balancing work and family life has not been worked without a lot of pressure on a lot of people's lives.
Women still struggling with choices, their own and hers. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Washington.
I'll be right back.
Did you know your Aleve works on headaches, too? When my wife got bad headaches, the pain relievers she tried, they'd work for a while, then quit. So she'd have to take more. You could see she was hurting. I had some Aleve for my arthritis pain, so she tried it. Now she's got her life back, and I've got her back.
Aleve can stop so many kinds of pain all day with just 2 pills. It would take 8 Tylenol to do that.
Thanks, Aleve, for making such a difference.
Space.com.
Houston, we have a website.
Cold stuff kill you? Then try new Colgate Sensitive Maximum Strength. It's clinically proven to provide significantly more pain relief than Sensodyne, so you don't have to be afraid of anything. New Colgate Sensitive.
Why choose Transitions lenses?
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. B is very, very extraordinary. E is even more of what you adore.
Transitions lenses, the choice for comfort, UV protection, and the versatility of a variable tint that changes as the light changes. The choice you'll love. Call 1-877-4-TRANSITIONS.
Uniroyal tires with nail guard seal most tread punctures instantly, permanently, and repeatedly. Nail guard tires, only from Uniroyal.
Gross. No matter what you do, you can't get it off, and nothing works.
It's a lime, calcium, and rust cleaner. Look, I don't even have to wait.
Lime Away, the easy way. Now with improved rust formula.
I want to do everything.
Nothing like food and water stolen from a precious little azalea.
Thanks for the meal, Red.
Some life we got here, eh?
Yeah, remember the time they sprayed us?
A waste of time.
Didn't touch our roots, we grew back
better than ever. Ain't nobody gonna spray us now with all these delicate flowers around.
Right, Red?
Say, what's that?
Roundup kills tough weeds, even near flowers. Roundup. No root, no weed, no problem.
Just ahead at 6, lawmakers are pitching a plan to keep state government running at the end of the fiscal year, but will the governor shoot down their proposal? And Terry Bulger takes a unique look at a more of the future. You could sit and drink lemonade while your lawn's being cut. Stay with us. The Scene at 6 is just minutes away.
It's June, it's the beginning of a new century, and there's a lot of money around. So guess what industry is booming? The business of getting hitched, getting married, has not seen better times since the end of World War II. Here's NBC's Kelly O'Donnell.
A newly minted marriage, Marlene and Brian Morabito, tying the knot in Washington, D.C., untying the family purse strings. Their special day, topping $75,000. Wedded bliss, an increasingly expensive trend.
It has certainly become a wonderful social event. Weddings are very big now.
And so is a year 2000 wedding date. 150,000 more couples marrying this year. The average cost around the country, $27,000, a jump of 28% since last year. On the high end, no limit. A staggering 50,000 couples will spend more than $500,000.
Couples these days are getting married a little bit older. They are well established in their careers. They have more money to spend.
The something new this wedding season, something borrowed from the rich and famous. Wedding style maven Vera Wang designed some of the most sought-after bridal gowns.
I always call wedding days everyone's personal Oscar night.
Her dresses start at $3,000. Finer fabrics and details take the cost to $10,000 and up.
I think everyone is stretching whatever level of wealth they have. I mean, it's an expense that sometimes is perhaps not viewed as justifiable.
Expense supporting what is now a $40 billion wedding industry. Driving up the price, quality details. More precious than gold, platinum rings, 40% of the market now, up from 25% a few years ago. Another pricey choice, something called destination weddings. 11% of couples taking the ceremony and all the guests to a vacation spot. Extravagance no longer limited to first-time brides. Perhaps the biggest change in weddings, couples remarrying are giving up the no-frills stop at City Hall in favor of a more public, more splashy reception.
It's okay to have a great big bash, and you don't have to be embarrassed or think twice about it.
When Beth Reed Ramirez married a second time, she found the planning frustrating. It seemed no one catered to what she calls encore brides, even though in 43% of marriages each year, either the bride, groom, or both have walked down the aisle before. So she launched Bride Again magazine. Circulation, 145,000.
Brides are saying, you know, I've been through a lot and I deserve this.
Half of those remarrying spend $7,000 to $25,000. For first-time brides and grooms like Marlene and Brian, often the parents pick up the bill.
Weddings for their children. They are very anxious to make it the party they never had.
A party more expensive, a wedding day families hope will be priceless. Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News, Los Angeles.
That's Nightly News for this Thursday night. I'm Tom Brokaw, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Nightly News is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
Next on The Scene at 6, why you need to budget even more gas money for the summer.
His children are back in Nashville while he faces possible deportation in Mexico. We'll have the latest coming up.
Also tonight, you came to the aid of a frustrated, disabled man when he had no access to his money and no food. Now the person who's supposed to take care of those things is speaking out for the first time. And our lawmakers have passed a budget plan. The question is, will it be dead in the water when it hits the governor's desk?
The Scene at 6 starts right now.
You're watching Channel 4 News with Demetria Kalatimos and Dan Miller, Bill Hall, and Rudy Kalis.
And for reasons that I don't know about, we continue to have the lowest priced gasoline in the world.
A local crude oil producer says if you think gas